If you have ever taken apart a laptop, you may have been left with this. This is a built-in camera that the laptop uses. And if you're anybody like me, you want to reuse as much as possible the electronics in that device. And so today we'll be learning how to exactly reuse this camera. So the part number of this camera looks like it's CK7794V-0. And I looked this up, and I could not really find a proper pinout or schematic. We're going to have to do this without one, but that shouldn't be a problem because reverse engineering these pins is not that complicated. Most cameras like these that you come across should use USB. How do you go about figuring out where these connections go? Which connection is which? Well, first of all, you can eliminate the obvious. These thin wires that are stranded together very tightly would not be the data lines, nor would they be the power. They're probably for the microphone or some other device that's on the PCB itself with the camera. So we can rule that out, and we can go to these wires. So here we see two black wires, an orange wire, a red wire, and a very smaller red wire. So for USB to work, it needs two data lines, and it needs a black and red wire for power. Now we see two black wires which should be both ground, and we can test that with a continuity test. So I'm hooking up one end of the leads from the multimeter to the body of the PCB. That should be our ground. And if the multimeter beeps, that just indicates there's a short circuit or the continuity is there. So I'm going to test the black wires, and indeed they are grounded. This one, however, is not. That's interesting. So what's happening here is that one black wire connects directly to the body of the camera PCB, and the other one does not. And I have a hunch here that the one that does not connect to the camera body, which is not creating a beep, this one connects to the 5-volt line that's supposed to power the whole thing. So one black wire would be for the grounding of the chassis, and one ground wire would be specifically the power line that gives power to the entire board. Now these boards run typically on 5 volts, so all we have to do to check if that's correct is give it 5 volts on these two wires. We're going to apply 5 volts on these lines, and we're going to see if we get any results from that. I believe that's an LED light in there, in that little hole. So theoretically, once we power this, we should see that light up. I have not tested this yet, so this is going to be the first time I've tested this. Alright, we're plugging it in. Alright, so now we have connected the other black wire, the wire that actually grounds to the body of the board, and we're going to try that as ground. I may have been wrong about this. Oh. It's already connected and it still hasn't. Yeah, well, You know, that might not be an LED, that might be a microphone. I might be mistaken there. Well, I just had about enough of this camera. I tried every possible configuration with these wires, and I just couldn't figure it out. What I might have done is actually fried it, but if you look at the wiring, there's no green or blue wire. There's no with USB connections, there has to be like a green or blue wire, and nothing like that is visible here. It's pretty weird. So I don't know about this camera. However, I have dug up 3 more that I will test, and we will see if these work. Alright, let's take this camera for example. There's the serial number, and it doesn't look very special, but right off the bat you can see that there's 4 wires, and this should be pretty simple. A common USB cable has 4 wires as well, and right off the bat we can tell that these are the data lines. Data lines are commonly braided or wrapped around each other in this way to minimize electromagnetic interference, and this is a dead giveaway. So we put off that to the side, and these 2 wires should be our power cables. Now, I am not going to test this at 5 volts directly from the USB port. I'm not going to attempt to fry this because I actually want to get an image, or I want the cameras to work this time. So what I'm going to do is use a 3.3 volt coin cell. And if I turn the multimeter to measure this voltage, oh, that's ohms, sorry. Yeah, that's 3.2 volts. That should be enough, and we'll see if this camera works off of a coin cell. Just off of a hunch and speculation, put this on the negative side and then connect the other wire over to the positive side, and hopefully we can see something, because there's an LED on this board, so maybe that'll light up. Nope, nothing. This is one thing I don't understand about these cameras. Even if you power them up, they don't want to seem to do anything. I need to find a way to test this somehow, so even if the light on this isn't blinking or flashing or indicating anything, I need to maybe it's still like powering on somehow. So what I'm going to be doing is soldering the data lines over to the data lines on the USB cable, and having that connected to the computer. Oh, sorry, white on white. It should be white on white. Okay. And then when I power it with the coin cell, I should get some type of result. And if I don't, I can always switch the wires or switch the polarity of the coin cell and just take it from there. 3.3 volts is a fairly low voltage, so I doubt I'll fry anything. Sky, can you figure this out? Can you figure which pin goes where? Which wire goes where? I need help on this. Help, please. Alright, that's enough. Alright guys, I think I figured it out. I think actually Sky figured it out. So what we needed was actually approximately 5 volts. In this case it's 4.5 volts. But just to make sure I didn't burn out anything, I used 3 diodes in series to step down the voltage a little bit each time. And so this gray wire here that you see is actually connected to the ground. And I was right about the braided data lines. And in this case, I did it all right on the first try. The tricky part was getting enough power and finding out the orientation of the power leads. But the gray one was negative, and the purple one, funny enough, is positive. And as soon as you connect the purple one, or the positive, to the positive side, voltage goes down. You hear the computer making a sound, And as soon as I connect that red wire, the device manager updates. When I scan hardware changes, it does detect it for a second, but then it cannot install correctly. Alright, this is worth mentioning, but when I first plugged it in, it popped up, and then it quickly went down here and told me it was a USB composite device, and there was a little yellow triangle indicating that there was a problem. The problem was that the device could not start. In fact, I'm gonna unplug it and plug it back in, and let's see if it moves or if the problem reemerges. So the HP webcam is gone. I'm gonna plug it back in, and it pops up as a USB composite device. And that's really weird. And if I go to properties, it says that the device cannot start. I have a hunch that maybe it's lacking power. Maybe it needs a little bit higher voltage. Alright, well, I plugged the webcam into the back of the computer, and I do have everything directly wired up to the camera now, and it has shown up as the HP Webcam 101. I'm going to try the software again, and we'll see if this works. Success! That is what you're seeing is the lights, but it works! It's on! It's on. I'm waving my hand in front of it. Alright, that is pretty cool. So the max resolution of this is 640 by 480, and the frame rate doesn't seem to be all that good. But for what I'm going to be using it for, I don't think that should be a big problem. Alright, now on this webcam, it's a little bit of a different story. The wires on this one are all different. So we have the same story with the braided spiraled wire, and I'm going to assume that this is for the data lines of the USB cable for now. But you can see that we don't really have any clear indication of where the ground cable is. We have this orange, green, yellow, and red wire. And so what I'm going to do is do a continuity test and actually determine which wire is ground. If these are indeed the data lines, then one of these wires has to be ground. Alright, so when we have a short, it will beep. I'm connecting this over to one of the pads on the PCB. And now we're going to test these 4 wires. First the red one. Nothing. Now the yellow one. Nothing. Alright. Orange. Nothing. Alright. I hope it's the green one. It is the green one. Green is ground. Alright, so now we have to find the positive wire. What I've done is I've connected a coin cell up to power this camera, but really it's not there to power it, it's there to check where the positive wire is. Now what I'm expecting is that one of these wires will create a voltage dip that we will be able to see in the meter. This voltage dip will indicate whether or not one of these wires is positive or not. And hopefully we can see that very clearly. And if not, we'll have to think of something else. I'm testing the red wire right now. And it does have a fairly large drop. Okay. I'm going to test the orange wire. Nothing. Okay, I'm testing the yellow wire. There's also a drop on the yellow wire. Okay, so we're down to red and yellow. Alright, so now I have this camera hooked up directly to the USB lines. The data lines, I just picked at random which wire goes where. I will figure it out as I go along. If this configuration works, then I'll keep it. But if it doesn't, I'll switch it around. Not too worried about that, though. We know that green, 100%, is ground, so I'll keep it there. I won't change it. Now, the positive line, I'm being safe, and I'm putting it through these 3 diodes to kind of lessen the voltage current. And then I am testing it with this yellow wire first, and then I'll try the red wire. We know the orange wire doesn't do anything. So I have Device Manager up. I'm plugging the webcam into the back of the computer. Oh, and it's actually, oh my god, first try. HP webcam, holy crap. This is the first try. Wow, it's right there. Yeah, successful. Hey, how about that? Alright, so this does work, and I'm holding it right now. The resolution is 640 by 480. Seems to be the same as the other one. And what I'm going to do is, we know that we're using the yellow wire right now as the positive. I do want to try the red wire because we saw the same dip in voltage when we did that coin cell test. We saw the same dip in voltage in the red wire as we did in the yellow wire, and so I just want to try the red wire and see if we can power up the camera the same way. Alright, this might actually be more of a pink than a red, but we have it hooked up. And I have Device Manager up and running, and I'm going to connect it in just a second. Alright, 3, 2, 1. Oh, it actually, wait, it recognized it. Oh, okay. Imaging device, HP webcam. There you go. So there is another positive line that we can use, which is interesting. Alright, this is going to be the last camera, and this one is also pretty different. You can already tell that the connections go into 2 different places, and I don't know why they did these connections separately, to be honest, but the same procedure applies that we did to the other cameras. And so we have, let's see, a braided wire here, and so those are automatically set aside because we know those are data lines, they have to be. And now we're left with 4 cables. Alright, so again, I'm connecting this multimeter to the body of the camera and doing a continuity test. Okay, and so when there's a short circuit, it'll beep. And we're just trying to find the ground wire. So let's try the shielded wires first. So that is not our ground, which is interesting. So those do not make a beep. Okay. Let's try these wires. This silver wire. The silver wires are ground. Okay. This green wire is nothing. But since these are in pairs, I would assume that because this is ground, that these 2 wires would be our grounded power. Alright, so at this point I'm pretty confident. based on my previous 2 experiences, or 3 experiences technically. Alright, so I have the device manager up and running again, and I'm plugging the camera into the back of the PC now. Oh, it's installing, and it recognizes the camera, and my device is ready to use. Holy crap, that is 3 for 3. That is that is pretty cool. I am impressed. Once you know how to wire these cameras, they're not too hard to use. And it seems like the 640 by 480 resolution is pretty common. So I went back to the previous camera that I gave up on, and I decided to connect it back up again, just for the curiosity of maybe it'll work this time, since I actually know what I'm doing. Alright, and well, I got Device Manager up and running, and let's see if this works. Oh! Yo, no way! No way! No way! It actually worked this time. Integrated webcam. Are you serious? It works! Look, there's the LED. Wow. I thought I definitely fried it. I thought it wasn't even USB, but I guess it is. I guess most of these cameras are USB. Manufacturers want them to make them, want them to be in a modular state, and USB is very convenient, so that they can put these modules, these camera modules, in different types of devices and not have to worry about proprietary hardware or software for them. So it makes sense that most of these are, in fact, USB.